everyone, it's Paulina. I felt like painting today, so I ran to the craft store and bought this little guy. Look at him. It's a little turtle. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna paint him. I have my water ready, all my brushes, and paints. And I was kind of thinking to myself, what story times or what should I be talking about throughout this entire video as I'm painting this cute little turtle. And then I realized, why not talk about confidence? More specifically, confidence in my nose and how that came to be. Now, the reason as to why I decided on this topic is mostly because I've been thinking about doing a video like this for a while. Don't know why I never came around it, but now I'm going to. So I just want to put a little disclaimer that growing up, I did have a lot of positive influence in my life. Like, my family is all for women empowerment. They're all so very loving. So I feel like that really affected the way that I view myself. But that still doesn't exclude me from the fact that I was insecure about my nose. But I'm going to talk to you about the ways on how I learned to love it, be confident in it, more so live with it. So the first thing that comes into mind is to start with your own self-confidence, like in yourself, whether that's through inner beauty or outer beauty or both. Because once you have that self-love, I feel like it's easier to manage your insecurities. And I can do a whole separate video about self-confidence within yourself, but just know that even some tips that I'm going to talk about here applies to overall self-confidence. And for starters, I know this is very cliche to say, but it really is like a slow process into loving yourself and your nose, because you can't really just wake up one day and be like, yep, I love my nose, all of a sudden when you never had self-confidence in it to begin with. Just know that it won't happen overnight. And if you realize that you're struggling with gaining that self-confidence in your nose, don't beat yourself up about it. It's just gonna make it worse. Just take it day by day and you'll soon realize how exhausting it is to hate on yourself, hate on your nose. All those negative things, you just don't need them. You don't need them in your life. This next one is targeted more towards my female audience because, believe it or not, some men are also insecure about their big nose. But just know that your big nose does not make you any less feminine. I don't know who came up with this thing that button noses are really cute and big noses are too manly and stuff like that. Don't believe it. There's so many models out there that have like big noses and they look so feminine, so pretty. And this leads me to my next point. Start following people who have big noses. The way I find people is just through fashion, TikTok, local creatives, things like that, and follow people who have similar physical qualities. And once you start seeing it on your feed in a positive way, it'll change your perspective on your nose. I promise you that. Especially looking at models. I know some people are like iffy about that. But when you see models have facial features that aren't usually the beauty standard, you start seeing it in a more positive way. I've just learned to not take it personally. And what I mean by that is to not compare myself to models with like button noses, because that's not realistic. If you're constantly comparing yourself to someone who looks nothing like you, obviously you're gonna feel some type of way, and you know you can't change yourself unless you like get a nose job, but that's a whole different story. But it's really not healthy comparing yourself to someone who looks nothing like you. So by following creatives and influencers, models, etc., who do have similar features, it really does make a small difference when you look at it in your feed. Now this next point might be silly to some people, but everyone's different, and if this works for you, great. Try finding like a positive community, whether that's through social media, like Facebook groups, or through Instagram, TikTok, all those social media platforms, but find a positive community about big noses. Like, for example, I have found mutuals who have like big noses through social media because I posted a TikTok video about my nose. I went viral, whatever you want to call it, twice on TikTok because of my nose. One of them was very positive. The other one had kind of had like mixed emotions. People were fighting in the comments for some reason, but through that, people found me and they saw that I had a big nose, and they had a lot to say because they also had a big nose, and we just connected through that. And I see a lot of people with like big noses follow me, and I just think that's very lighthearted and sweet because we relate with having a big nose. It's literally just all friendship, all love, all lightheartedness, and really puts you in a positive perspective. And then how I deal with hate, I guess I'm addressing it. Honestly, it all just happens on social media. No one is physically going to come up to you in real life and tell you that they don't like something about you. And if they do, they need to get a life. How I deal with hate online about my nose, I simply either ignore it or I simply do not care. It's just something about people taking their time out of the day to hate on someone about anything is what gets me. It's laughable almost. because you really have nothing else to do. That's just the way that I see it. And 100% of the time, it's someone with 0 followers or someone with no profile picture, no bio, nothing like that. So obviously they're not brave enough to tell you in your face. And it's just like, it does not matter. It literally doesn't. Because having one hater, oh, I hate calling it that, but having one hater means having like 100 other people supporting you. And then one of the biggest things to this day that I still do that helps me keep my confidence is taking selfies, especially at an angle where it shows the bump of my nose. I even purposely take side profile pictures to see the beauty within my nose. But taking selfies at like an angle where it actually shows your nose instead of like having your face like this really helps. And when you keep taking pictures like that, you'll soon start loving how they look. Because first of all, if that's the only struggle you're having with about your face, then doing that at least once every time you take a selfie, you'll soon start to slowly love your face at any angle. Also, the thing that I catch myself doing is when I'm looking in the mirror, I kind of like tilt my head to the side or go like that. I do some positive reinforcement. Even if it's not about my nose, like I would go ahead and look in a mirror and kind of tilt my head a little bit and be like, oh, I look cute today. And just simple things like that. Like you don't realize that the little things actually do help in self-confidence until you do it every day. And it starts being like a part of your routine to the point where you don't have to think about it. And you'll soon gain that confidence. And the sad reality is I see a lot of people with like big noses and they're not confident in their nose whatsoever, but they don't know how pretty they are. Now, another thing that I'm going to be talking about is do not let your nose define how you feel. Because it's the same thing as focusing your energy on something negative that happened to you in a day. And then just throughout the entire day, you're focused on that. So the rest of your day is bad. You don't want that. I don't know who else relates or if I'm the only one. Do you have days where it looks bigger or smaller? And it's like, oh, today it looks big. I don't want to go anywhere. Things like that. I don't know if I'm the only one. But to me, there are days where my nose looks surprisingly bigger than the day before, and it doesn't look bad, but it's just like one of those days where I'm like, my makeup's not gonna look good, and things like that. But what I did is I honestly just let it stop bothering me. I have this quote on my phone that says, it'll only affect you if you let it affect you, and I 100% stand by that. And I know it sounds cheesy listening to a quote, but it really does make my day better when I just ignore it. And sometimes that's okay. I realized that I didn't really go in depth on why I was insecure. It all just comes down to middle school and high school. You know, when you start being self-aware and self-cautious. I was never the one to care about people's opinions, but obviously I cared about my own. And like I said, I compared myself to girls with little noses. All my friends with like pretty little button noses would always be going on dates and stuff, and I would be that friend that basically set them up. But the one thing about me was that I was not a relationship girl, so that didn't really affect me. What did affect me, anytime a friend of mine would take a picture of me like off guard, it would always look ugly to me because of my nose. Anytime I was talking to someone or just close to someone and my head was kind of to the side, I would immediately try to go at an angle to where I'm facing them. And that was honestly just all in my head because everyone around me never said anything. Even if they were thinking it, like they're not gonna say anything. But when I realized it's all in my head and all my self-doing on why I hate my nose, I started to change that. And it didn't take long for me to start like not hating my nose, because that's how it starts. It's not really like going from hate to love. It's going from hating it to not hating it to being okay with it to not letting it bother you to all these other steps until you love it.
I don't know why I didn't address this, but I know there's such things as bullying and teasing. And I did get teased in middle school and high school. But it was mostly people who I didn't know, weren't really close with, or were just acquaintances. And I had genuine close friends that didn't really care about like looks and all that stuff. So when I did get teased, I knew those people weren't important in my life, so why should I care about their opinion? And it's not like it didn't bother me when they said things like that, but I just never let it affect me truly. And I know it doesn't work that way for a lot of people, but that's just my experience.
Now, the last thing I want to add, because it's super important, even those who are super confident in themselves, like myself, there's still some days where I'm kind of self-cautious about it. And that's totally okay. I think it's just like human nature to kind of nitpick at yourself. But what I do to get out of that mindset is to put my mind into something else. Like if I like my outfit today, I would focus on that. If I like my makeup, I would focus on that. Try to just get rid of any negative thoughts about my nose because we don't need that. Here's my little turtle. What should be its name? I feel like I can like make a little top hat for it and it would be so perfect. She's green, so I'm kind of thinking emerald. It's giving emerald. So we're naming her Emerald. But anyways, guys, I really hope you enjoyed painting with me and having a little chit chat about confidence in your nose. I certainly have more tips and can go more in depth about each one. I'm pretty happy with how this turned out. So cute. And I did not mess up that much. Emerald, you are a cutie. But anyways, thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed and have a wonderful day. Bye.